Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Noor Mariam and I am honored to serve as co-moderator of RumaCon Pakistan 2026 along with Dr. Zainab Malik and Dr. Maham Dilshad. It gives us great pleasure to welcome you all to 7th Annual International Rheumatology Conference, where we are joined by an esteemed panel of speakers and experts. RheumaCon Pakistan is a premier annual international conference dedicated to advancing the field of rheumatology and clinical immunology. Organized under the auspices of the Department of Rheumatology and Immunology, which was established 27 years ago. The initiative reflects a long-standing commitment to academic excellence, clinical innovation, and community service. Since its inception, the department has been actively serving the masses and has played a pivotal role in training numerous rheumatologists who are now practicing across the country, contributing significantly to the management of autoimmune and musculoskeletal diseases. Continuing this proud legacy, RheumaCon Pakistan marks the 7th International Rheumatology Conference, bringing together distinguished national and international experts, clinicians, and researchers. The conference serves as a dynamic platform for sharing cutting-edge research, discussing evolving international guidelines, and addressing region-specific challenges in rheumatology. With a strong focus on emerging therapies, evidence-based practices, and multidisciplinary collaboration, RheumaCon Pakistan aims to enhance clinical expertise and improve patient care standards. Join us in this journey of learning, innovation, and excellence as we work together to improve patient care standards. The conference today will comprise 3 scientific sessions featuring a total of 10 talks and 2 panel discussions. The first session will include 3 talks, followed by the inaugural ceremony. The second session will consist of a panel discussion along with 3 talks. The third and the final session will include 4 talks, a panel discussion, and the closing ceremony. Each session will conclude with an interactive question and answer segment. We sincerely thank you for being a part of this event and hope that you find the conference both insightful and rewarding. Moving on to the first talk of the day, musculoskeletal injuries involving the lower limb represent a significant and often underappreciated contributor to morbidity, particularly among physically active individuals and the aging population. In context of rheumatology, differentiating sports-related injuries from inflammatory or degenerative conditions is essential to avoid misdiagnosis and ensure appropriate management. Early recognition, accurate assessment, and targeted rehabilitation strategies are therefore crucial in restoring function, preventing chronic disability, and optimizing patient outcomes. It is a privilege to introduce Dr. Misam Afzal, a distinguished rheumatologist with extensive international training and expertise. He holds MRCP and FRCP, master's degree in rheumatology, and specialty certification from Royal College of Physicians, UK. As the head of the Department of Rheumatology at Al Aleem Medical College and Gulab Devi Hospital, Lahore, Dr. Afzal has been instrumental in advancing rheumatologic care and education. We look forward to his valuable insight on this important topic. Please warmly welcome Dr. Misam Afzal on the stage.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to discuss this interesting topic, lower limb sports injury. I have no conflict of interest. So when I was given this topic, I was slightly surprised that why a rheumatologist should be speaking about the sports injuries. But then I realized that actually we see many of these patients in our clinic, in our daily practice. And the real challenge is not actually a sports injury, it's the overlap between the mechanical and inflammatory conditions, which makes the assessment far more important than it appears. We all know that about 60 to 80% of sports injuries are the lower limb injuries, and out of those, ankle injuries are the commonest. So sports injuries, they are not like a single event, it's a cumulative event. Repeated microtraumas, delayed repair, or delayed, because of the delayed repair, its degeneration gets worse, especially in hypovascular sites like the ankle. These injuries are quite cause the problem. So among the ankle injuries, the commonest is the lateral ankle sprain. And it happens, you see these type of injuries normally in the sports like a football, when a sportsman awkwardly land on another sportsman's foot or on an uneven surface, causing the hyperflexion and inversion of the foot. It affects on the ligament like anterior talofibular ligaments. Okay, now at the knee, again mechanism guides the diagnosis. An ACL injury is typically non-contact and pivoting injury. So you see these type of injuries normally in the sports like football, basketball, and skiing and in tennis. In contrast, MCL injury is normally due to the valgus stress from the contact, such as tackling from the side. So commonly we see these types of sports injuries like rugby, wrestling, and hockey. Okay, let's start with the case presentation. This is a 25-year-old football player presents with an inversion ankle injury during the play, and he immediate lateral ankle pain, but was still able to bear the weight. On examination, there was a localized tenderness at the lateral side of the ankle and on the ATFL side, and positive drawer test. And X-rays are normal and the range of movements are normal as well. So diagnosis will be the lateral ankle sprain. Up till this point, the diagnosis is quite clear. And what do you think, how will we make the diagnosis? Do we use any sort of imaging or anything to diagnose the ankle sprain? Do we? No. The ankle sprain is normally a clinical diagnosis on the basis of the mechanism and also the drawer test, instability test, and obviously in this case, patient has a range of movement of the foot is fine. We don't need any sort of imaging at this point. However, not all ankle sprains are simple, so sometimes situation changes. This case is actually taken from the BMJ publication. Uh, so this patient's symptoms gone worse quite rapidly, pain worsened, and then swelling worsens as well, and pain was out of proportions, and neurological signs appeared, and a compartment syndrome was suspected at that time. A compartmental pressure was checked, which was very high, and this patient required a urgent fasciotomy. Now, after a period of recovery, patient went home, and after a few months, patient presented again with the worsening of the symptoms without any clear history of trauma. Now the symptomatology changed. Early morning stiffness, more than 30 minutes, ankle pain, bilateral heel pain, improves with physical activity, and was a gradual onset. What do you think that what's going on now? The symptomatology changed. On examination, Achilles tendon was tender at the site of anthesis, and also the plantar fascia, CRPSR was raised, HLA-B27 positive, R effector anti-CCP was negative. So obviously all started from the mechanical injury, and now things gone to the inflammatory. So the diagnosis of spondyloarthritis was made. Now here, what begins with a straightforward mechanical injury may later reveal an underlying inflammatory process. No, the thing is that we don't know that whether this patient had this underlying inflammatory process while he had this mechanical injury, or it was triggered because of the trauma or surgery, or it may have developed later on. But from patient's perspective, all started from the injury. So that's how the patient presents to a rheumatologist. They always come, they will tell you that we had an injury and that's why we have this problem. Yeah? HLA-B27 positivity doesn't mean always that patient got ankylosing spondylitis. It can be negative it can be positive in normal population, about 5% of the patients. Okay. So when it is not a sports injury, when the symptoms are persistent, when the pattern is atypical, and when the recovery is not as expected, then it's not a bad luck. That is the diagnosis trying to tell you something. So always, when you see something going on the wrong direction, we always need to rethink the diagnosis. And why the spondyloarthritis or any inflammatory condition will mimic the sports injury? Because it's the same anatomical position like heel, ankle, knee, and often there is no clear history of trauma. And normally in the early stage, the disease is more localized rather than systemic. And patients are normally young and active. So when we suspect any inflammatory arthritis like spondyloarthritis, we need to actively look for these clinical patterns like enthesitis, inflammatory back pain, asymmetrical oligoarthritis, dactylitis, and associated diseases like psoriasis and inflammatory bowel disease, and extra-articular manifestation like uveitis. So spondyloarthritis are subdivided into axial spondyloarthritis and peripheral spondyloarthritis, and there's quite a lot of overlap among them. And that's why they mimic the sports injury. So the core lesion in spondyloarthritis is enthesitis. And from the rheumatology perspective, enthesitis at the site of Achilles tendon and plantar fascia, they are the most important. And if you see any patient with the persistent heel pain and not improving, then we don't only label this patient as an overuse injury, we should think about enthesitis. And enthesitis is not only a feature, it's a hallmark of spondyloarthritis. Okay, so these are the common site of enthesis. But from the rheumatologist perspective, the most important are Achilles, plantar fascia, patellar tendon, quadricep tendon, and iliac crest. So now, when our clinical bit is a little confusing, we take a help with the modalities like ultrasound. So here you can see normal tendon, which is showing the fine fibrillar pattern, sharp edges inserting into the bone, and there are no Doppler activities. In comparison to that, this is the mechanical tendinopathy, and you can see the tendon is quite thickened and has quite a lot of hypoechogenicity, loss of fibrillar patterns. And this one is a normal tendon, which is normally in an oval shape with a good fibrillar pattern. And here, this is a tendinopathy, thickened tendon with a loss of fibrillar pattern. Now, this is again like a degenerative tendon, and we all know that most of the degenerative tendons, they don't show Doppler activity. However, because of the chronic disease, there can be a new vascularization, and Doppler signal can present because of the new vascularization, and it is not actually a true inflammation. In comparison to that, this is spondyloarthritis-related enthesitis. And here you can see this big enthesophyte. This is a result of chronic inflammation because of the spondyloarthritis. And on the bottom slide, you can see enthesitis with a Doppler activity at the site of insertion. So this is the typical ultrasound of the spondyloarthritis. But keeping in mind that this, like enthesophyte, is not only specific for spondyloarthritis, can happen into the aging process or with the overuse injury or degenerative process. When we diagnose this spondyloarthritis, we don't only see the Doppler activity. This is a combination of the symptoms, isn't it? So Doppler activity, enthesitis, enthesophytes, or erosion formation, and we also see this clinical sign and symptoms. So this is a summary of this, that mechanical tendinopathy primarily affects the tendon substance with degeneration, loss of fibrillar pattern, and sometimes Doppler within the tendon due to new vascularization. In contrast to that, spondyloarthritis, it is normally enthesitis and Doppler signal on the insertion site with the enthesophyte formation and also the erosion formations. So when I see such patient, how I approach, I take a history to see if this patient has a history of trauma, or it is an insidious onset, or the pattern was localized, or it is multi-system, or symptoms are activity related or versus inflammatory. So all that we have to see during examination. The pain is in the tendon and in the enthesis. Obviously, image guides the diagnosis, but it is the clinical bit is the most important. So when plantar fasciitis isn't a plantar fasciitis, this is a story published in this newspaper, which is known as creaky joints. This is a story about a patient who initially presented with a bilateral heel pain, and it took her like 18 months before she saw like 9 different doctors. before the diagnosis of psoriatic arthritis was made. And it was made only at the end when one of the doctor thought that this is out of the proportion symptoms. So he investigated, took a further history and found this patient got psoriasis. And this patient now advocates that not all foot pain is mechanical. Patients with psoriasis should be aware of the psoriatic arthritis. And persistent symptoms, if there are persistent symptoms not improving, you should question it about the diagnosis. Now this is case number 3. This is about 49 years old male who, while playing, had a Achilles tendon rupture, and then he had a surgical repair, and he presented with the worsening of the pain, warmth, and discharge from the incision side. He had a couple of incision drainage done, and the repeated course of antibiotic. All the time the cultures were negative. However, his ESR, CRP is raised. Now, what do you think? If multiple cultures are negative, repeated courses of antibiotic, can it be an infection? So we already need to revisit the diagnosis all the time. So persistent sterile infection, atypical post-operative course, and no organism identified. A further history was taken, and we found that it is actually another published case. It shows that patient has a history of high protein diet, alcohol use, and renal stones. And what do you think now where it's going? Gout. Yeah, that's correct. So this is the picture taken from the same journal. You can see another incision drainage done, and you can see this chalky material coming out from here. This patient has a dual energy CT scan done, and it's showing this color coding, which is a urate crystal in the Achilles tendon. And the histopathology confirmed these are the tophies you can see on the histopathologies. So the patient was treated as gout. He was referred to the rheumatologist. So you can see how the picture can change. Start from the like a sprain, and then suddenly things can change, and we have to revisit the diagnosis. That's a complication of that's how there is a lot of overlap between the sports injury and the inflammatory problems. So the key learning point here is that inflammatory condition like gout can mimic the infection, and if the cultures are repeatedly coming back negative, we always rethink the diagnosis. And Achilles tendon is a common site of the diagnostic confusion. Now this is case number 4. That's a 42 years old recreational football player, acute inversion ankle injury, and he get the pain in the lateral ankle site. Initially improved within 3 to 4 weeks, and then he came back to activity without any rehabilitation. So what happens when patient not get the rehabilitation on time and not give the sufficient recovery time to repair? Things can go in the wrong direction. So his pain worsened with the activity, sense of giving way, instability, difficulty on uneven surfaces, and there were no inflammatory symptom at this time. There was localized lateral ankle tenderness, positive interior draw test, positive Taylor tail test, and MRI showed ATL, FL, and CFL rupture. So this is the case of chronic lateral ankle instability. And secondary to repeated trauma, inadequate rehabilitation, and mechanical structure failure. So this is the 4th case. You have seen already 3 cases, and this one is the 4th case. And while I was preparing this presentation, I received a text message from my neighbors. One of the son-in-law, he had an injury 10 years ago, and he sent me a video, and I have taken the consent from them. And now I'll show you this video very according to the topic.
मेरा ना आज से 10-12 साल पहले यूनिवर्सिटी में फुटबॉल खेलते हुए ये यहाँ पे फ्रैक्चर हो गया था, और उसके बाद प्लास्टर भी लगा था एंकल पे। तो फिर बाद में ये होता है कि थोड़ी सी नाहमवार सतह आती है ना, तो ये पाँव ट्विस्ट हो जाता है इधर से, और फिर वो उस जगह सूज जाती है। पहले तो ये कभी कभार हो रहा था, लेकिन पिछले 3-4 माह में 3 से 4 दफ़ा ना इधर से ये पाँव ट्विस्ट हो गया है कि सड़क थोड़ी सी ऊपर नीचे होती है तो ये पाँव इम्बैलेंस हो जाता है और पाँव मुड़ जाता है, जिसकी वजह से ये पूरी जगह सूज जाती है और काफ़ी दिनों तक ना मैं गर्म पट्टी बांध के बैठा रहता हूँ।
तो इसमें ये कह रहा है कि जब मैं चलता हूँ तो बार बार मेरा पाँव मुड़ जाता है, तो दिस इज़ अ क्रॉनिक इंस्टेबिलिटी। सो उसका फ्रैक्चर जो है वो 10 साल पहले हुआ था और उसके बाद मेरा ख्याल है वही जो रिहेबिलिटेशन प्रॉपर तरीके से नहीं हुई, तो अब इंस्टेबिलिटी ऑफ द टेंडन्स है जिसकी वजह से सारा कुछ हो रहा है। So in conclusion, most lower limb sports injury are mechanical, but not always. Always reassess symptoms if it like persists beyond the expected healing time. The expected healing time जो है वो 4 से 6 हफ्ते या मैक्सिमम 3 months है। अगर उससे ज़्यादा ना हो तो हमेशा revisit करें डायग्नोसिस को। और we always need to understand what is the mechanical symptom, what are the inflammatory symptoms, and if a sports injury is not improving, it's not a bad luck. It's a signal to reassess the diagnosis. Thank you.